ending a quick death, that it's over. And I actually don't believe that. Personally, I think we've failed our people and failed our leaders. We've thrown them into a completely different environment and expected them to use the same skill set and tools that they used in a co-located environment. I use the analogy of mechanics, top of their field in petrol cars. And then overnight, you expect them to work on electric vehicles using the same skill set. We would never do that. Yet that's what we've done to our leaders. So, last week I spoke about 3 key core areas that we need to focus on to help upskill our people, especially our leaders, so that they can lead teams effectively in any environment, whether it's remote, whether it's a hybrid, whether it's a flexible way of work. And those 3 areas I touched on were mindset and doing some myth busting. The other was, what is that skill set? What existing skills do they have that we need to uplift? What new skills do they need, and what new tools do they need to support them? And the third area was around focus. Where are our leaders spending their time? What are they focusing on? And how does that differ when you're leading a remote team? So I'm back this week to talk about mindset, and I'm going to demyth a few things. So what is mindset? Well, mindset is a set of ideas or attitudes that we all have, and they're all different. And quite often, they're very difficult to change. If we think about it in a more simple way, they are a set of beliefs. Or, if we use the buzzword at the moment, they're our bias. And they determine the way that we handle different situations. They determine how we make sense of the world, and they impact our behaviours, our decisions, and sadly, the majority of it, close to 95% of it, is completely subconscious. We don't know what the majority of our beliefs are because they're formed over time, at an early age, and through repetition. So, before I jump into that, I want to do some myth busting. So, one of the biggest myths around remote work is that it decreases productivity, that people are taking advantage of it. They're slacking off, they're not doing their job. So, I want to share some stats from studies with you, and I'm going to read these. So, Future Forum reported where workers had full schedule flexibility, they reported 29% higher productivity and 53% greater flexibility, or ability to focus, I should say. So 53% of greater ability to focus than workers that had no ability to shift their schedule and where they worked from. Before COVID even hit, there was a peer review research completed by the Graduate School of Stanford Business, and they published that remote work improved productivity. A NASDAQ-listed company completed a study where they randomly assigned call center employees to work from home or the office over 9 months. The work from home resulted in a 13% performance increase. In addition to that, those that were working from home improved their work satisfaction by 50%. A more recent study, which was published by Fortune, has found that productivity increased 8% for work from home and attrition reduced by 35%. There was another study, and I'm sorry if I'm boring you, but I just want to make a point. There was a 2-year study by the Great Place to Work over more than 800,000 employees. And it showed that the shift to working remotely during the pandemic boosted worker productivity by 6%. Last one, Stanford University completed a longitudinal study, and they found that remote workers were 5% more efficient than the office-based workers in the summer of 2020. But by the summer of 2022, that jumped to 9%. And that's probably because we got better at working from home, right? So I can throw all these stats at you, right? I can give you the data, but is it really going to make a difference to what you believe or your behaviors if you don't first challenge your mindset? And to support this, there is studies that have been done. Microsoft released a new study where it found that 85% of their leaders say that the shift to hybrid work has made it challenging to have confidence that their employees are being productive. And 49% of their managers struggle to trust their employees to do their best work when they're working from home. Another report by Citrix, based on a global survey of over 900 business leaders and 1,800 knowledge workers, 50% of all business leaders believe that when employees are working out of sight, they don't work as hard. Completely contradictory. The beliefs of those leaders completely contradict the studies that find productivity improves. Why is that? It comes down to our mindset, to our biases. And before I get into that, to understand that a little bit more, I want to take a moment. I want to ask you a series of questions, and I want you to just answer them honestly. First thing that comes to mind. Do you trust your remote workers? Do you think they are taking advantage of the company and not working as hard when they're at home? Are you not sure whether they work more effectively at home or in the office? Do you believe some of your employees are more productive at home, but others are not? If that's the case, I ask you, what kind of relationship do you have with the employees that you trust? And what type of relationship do you have with the employees that you don't trust? There could be a chance that you're suffering from proximity bias. And that's pretty normal, and I'll come to that. So the first thing I want you, when we think about our mindset, when we want to try and understand our beliefs and understand what it is, what our bias is, I've just taken you through the first step. And that is starting to understand what you think and believe. When you find yourself thinking and making a judgment call about something, someone, a situation, stop and ask yourself, why do I think that way about that? Why did I react like that? Because if you never stop to challenge it, you're just on autopilot all the time. You're just running on all your habits and your beliefs subconsciously without even challenging them or thinking about what you're doing. So stop and start to ask yourself some better questions. Why is it that I think this way? Why is it that I behave this way towards these people? That's the first step. The second step is to start to be curious, right? Why is it that I think this way? What is this based on? I have this belief that my people aren't working from home, but the stats show differently. So are there any facts that prove that? What facts do I have? What evidence do I have to suggest that they are not working as hard at home as they are in the office? And that will start to help you understand whether it's a real truth, you do have a performance issue, or it's based on a bias, it's based on a belief. And to my point earlier, this is absolutely normal, because I can guarantee you that when you learnt to lead people, you learnt to lead people in a co-located environment, or at least a flexible environment where they were in the office 2 or 3 days a week, where you could see them. You learnt to measure performance, measure productivity, and evaluate productivity based on sight. You physically had people in the environment. You physically saw them at their desk. You physically saw the output. You had conversations where you could physically see all forms of communication styles, not just the verbal. You saw the facial expression. You saw the body language. You learnt to lead in an environment where you had a lot more information in your sight than what you do in a remote environment. So it's only natural that you're going to trust less what you can't see. So how does bias work? How does this mindset thing actually work? What happens is we're anchored. It's anchored bias. We're anchored in the information we originally received. That creates a belief. So the original information that you received about evaluating performance was based on sight, physical appearance, physical locality. So it becomes difficult to accept any information that contradicts that original position that you are anchored in. That's why when people share new information with you about anything, there's probably an automatic reaction to reject that new information, because it may not align with the original information you received. So, we've talked about how you can become aware of your mindset. And that's by actually starting to challenge your thoughts. When a thought pops up about remote work, challenge it. Stop, take a moment. Okay, that's what I think. That's what I believe. But why do I believe that? Where's the evidence? Is it a truth or is it a bias? What's the evidence supports what I am thinking? And when you have that new increased awareness about that mindset that you have, it actually automatically opens you up to start to consider other perspectives, which opens you up to learning a different way. So when you have that increased self-awareness, you now have the ability to change that belief, that mindset. And that takes us to the next topic that we're going to discuss, which is around the skill set. Because you have the self-awareness now that maybe it's your mindset that's been creating the challenges that you have in leading a remote team. And if that's the case, not only are you open to learning new perspectives and seeing things from a different way, but you're also ready to learn new skills and tools to lead your remote team, your hybrid team, your flexible way of work team. And there are a myriad of tools that you use. And we're going to touch on that in my next session. It won't be next week because I am away for the week, but the week after that, beginning week of the 27th of June, I'll be back on live and we'll start talking about what are those skills that leaders need? What are those tools that leaders need? But before I part today, it's probably really important to touch on the fact that productivity is just one aspect and the mindset around that. There are studies. I mean, you only have to Google the remote work productivity studies, and you'll see a whole massive list of them. But there are other studies that demonstrate negative aspects of remote work, things like impact on mental health, feeling disconnected. Those are real as well, but I'm going to bundle that into our next session because there are things that our leaders can do, new skills, new tools, to help our people feel more connected, even if they are working remotely, to help them manage the amount of time they're spending at work. We know for a fact that there's studies and research that supports that people work longer hours when they're working remotely because they don't have that commute time. So there are things our leaders can do, and there are things we need to teach our leaders and tools we need to provide our leaders so that they can actually continue to manage that aspect, that sense of belonging, that sense of connection that we so desperately need as humans. So I will talk about that next time. So it won't be next week, it'll be the week after. I'll be back here and we'll touch on the key area 2 of what are those skills and tools our leaders need, and what skills do they already actually have that we just need to uplift a little bit. I look forward to you joining me next time, and I hope I'm helping you see that remote work is not dead. Take care.